What's goody, everybody? It's your boy Wilder42K, and we are back with another Docuseries video. I hope you all are enjoying these videos. I think I'm going to try and do at least one of these a week. But anyways, in today's video, we are going to talk about what happened to the Carolina Panthers. Most of you know the recent turmoil of the Carolina Panthers. You know, trading Baker Mayfield, he gets hurt, trading Robbie Anderson, trading their franchise star in CMC, Christian McCaffrey, but also not trading other fundamental players that they think are considered foundational players in their franchise right now. But to truly understand, let's take a trip back to the start. In our last video, we discussed the worst start to a franchise in NFL history. The Panthers started much better in 1994, starting at 7-9 in their inaugural season, and having their first winning season in year 2 at 12-4. A second-year team going 12-4 is something that doesn't happen very often. Not to mention, to win their division in just their second year was a big accomplishment. Over the next few years, though, they came back to reality, posting a combined record of 34-62 from 1997 to 2002. That's a mere win percentage of just 35%, and even having a 1-15 season in 2001. Now, this may look bad, but it gets even worse. They posted an overall point differential through those 6 seasons of negative -287. Granted, that's only an average point differential of just 2.98, negative 2.98, so the games were mostly close, but they couldn't seem to find wins during that 6-year span. Now, jumping to 2003, the Panthers saw their first Super Bowl appearance, winning their division and posting an 11-5 record while just ranking in 15th in total points, 16th in total yards. A middle-of-the-pack offense carried by a top 10 defense got this team to the Super Bowl. However, they did end up losing in their first Super Bowl appearance in 2003, 32-29, giving Tom Brady just his second Super Bowl ring at the time. Now, the reason why I bring up the early years of this franchise is because they have had success outside of everyone's favorite Panthers season. In 2015, they went 15-1 with Cam Newton. However, in that stretch from 2003 to 2015, in between their Super Bowl appearances, they only had 5 seasons where they finished with a winning percentage 50% or higher, meaning they were either 7-8 or worse at least 7 times during that tenure. And that isn't necessarily bad, but in those 5 years that they were above 500, they had a crazy win percentage. Now, 2015, obviously the most renowned Panthers season, as we've stated before, they won their division and had their second Super Bowl appearance, losing to the Broncos and Peyton Manning. This season right here is really the pinnacle or the peak and the turning point of the Panthers franchise as we know it today. It's really where it began to change, not just for the franchise as a whole, but for every single one of their players. Following the 2015 season, however, Cam Newton was never really the same. He threw for a career-high 3,837 yards in 2015, a career-high 35 touchdowns, and his average of 10 interceptions in 2015. Now, he has never eclipsed 3,500 yards since that season, but one time, and it was for 3,509 yards. He hasn't hit more than 24 touchdowns since 2015, and majority of the time he's right around that 20 mark. His 7.1 touchdown percentage in 2015 dropped off a cliff after his MVP type season. With an injury in 2019, his touchdown percentage dropped to 3.7% and 4.5% in that time span. Though his rushing has really remained consistent, it hasn't really helped him elevate to that MVP type season. Now, going back to his injury in 2019, he's never looked quite the same. And though the stats back up the noise for a replacement after the 2016-2018 2 seasons, you can't help but wonder what could have been and what could have Cam Newton done following that injury. Once Cam Newton suffered that injury in 2019, they've tried Kyle Allen. They went 5-11. They tried Teddy Bridgewater and went 5-11. They tried Sam Darnold and go 5-12. Now they trade for Baker Mayfield. They're 1-5 so far this season with a hurt Baker Mayfield. Now, these records aren't just because the wheel of quarterback didn't play out well. CMC, their now ex-star running back, hasn't played a full season since 2019. In fact, combined, he hasn't even played technically a full season in the NFL, with only 16 total combined games since that 2019 season. Now they trade him away in what is possibly his healthiest season since his injury plague, as if he was the major issue in terms of them losing every game. Which begs the question, why do the Panthers think certain pass rushers, cornerbacks, and wide receivers are considered foundational players when your star running back at the age of 26, homegrown in your franchise, isn't considered a foundational player? Yes, he's had a couple injuries since 2019, and he hasn't played a full season since then. But how can that player not be considered a foundational player in whom is a top 5 running back in almost every aspect of the NFL? Again, it wasn't just quarterback that really hindered them from winning games. Offensively, they haven't had a tight end worth much since 2016. When Greg Olsen had his last 1,000-yard season, he only combined for 1,000 total yards over the last 3 seasons he had in Carolina. They lost Luke Kuechly in 2019 after just an 8-year career, and 7 of his 8-year career was a Pro Bowl season. A crazy stat is then the retention of players just 5 years after their Super Bowl season. In 2020, right before the season began, they only had 5 players left from that roster, and none of them were star players other than Cam Newton. Not to mention the issues that they've had at coaching staff. Their coaching staff has changed hands an absurd amount of times. 2 head coaches since 2020, with Matt Rule taking over in that season. He's had a career coaching record of 11-27. They've had 3 offensive coordinators and 4 defensive coordinators, and that's just your main coaches. That's not your quarterback coaches. That's not your wide receiving coaches, your assistants, your linebacker coaches, anything like that. And that's not even talking about the end of Ron Rivera's tenure in Carolina, where he essentially jumps off a cliff and can't find wins. They've had just 1 winning season since 2015, with a combined record of 39-58, with a point differential of -285. Now that should sound familiar. An almost exact same point differential as the 1997 to 2002 6-year span of a -287 point differential. What happened in the following year? The Panthers went to the Super Bowl. Did they lose? Yes. It's been the same 6-year span though, and yes, the Panthers are at a 1-5 start, but who knows? Is it the Panthers' year? Probably not, but sports are based off of patterns, history, and rebuilds. Generally speaking, rebuilds last about 6 to 7 years. So what does their future hold? We shall see, but the future looks pretty grim as of right now, and honestly, that's what happened to the Carolina Panthers. In this video, guys, we went over the downfall of the Panthers since 2015 and gave you a backstory of some of their history. If you have a team in any sport or any moment in time that you want to see a docuseries episode about, please leave it in the comments. And if y'all enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because we're going to keep this type of content coming, as well as all the other content you've seen here on the channel. I do want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see y'all in the next one.